right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Friday. Always excited for Friday and the weekend. A lot going on. Today we have Jacob with us. And before we jump into what Jacob is going to share, let's do a quick review of what we have coming up next week. If our screen loads, there it goes. Okay, so today Jacob will be going over Twilio message changes in FileMaker and some other things that are going on with that. And then, as mentioned the other day, Monday through Wednesday, we have days 4 through 6 with Nick on the Chat GPT, and he will be continuing and wrapping up that conversation. And then on Thursday, we have bulk record deletion with J Ray. That one should be quite interesting. It's always nice to have J Ray come on and talk. And then we have a guest speaker coming on Friday to talk about Color Picker. Don't know entirely what that one's about, but it still should be interesting. Thank you to everyone who is with us on Twitch and YouTube and Discord and keeping the conversation going and entertaining. It's always appreciated to have everyone here. So with that, I will stop sharing my screen and Jacob, you can take over.
Awesome. I wanted to basically what the stream today is going to be is actually almost nothing to do with FileMaker. I wanted to say that up front. Basically, like this entire conversation is kind of specific to people with or businesses, sorry, with 10-digit phone numbers, like a regular, long code phone number in the US, who, and number two, are texting other people in the US. If you are not one of those or both, which is a chunk of our clientele, this doesn't apply to you at all. If you're outside the US, you're texting people outside the US, you're not texting anyone in the US at all, then it just doesn't matter, and you can have a great Friday. You should go find an adult beverage and not listen to us talk about some really boring regulatory changes, basically. But that said, basically what is changing here, and I'm going to give some dates. I have links and stuff, and we're going to talk about it and go through kind of what you need to do, and like what the process is and that kind of stuff. But essentially, many of you may know text message spam in the US is kind of off the chain a little. And so I think rather than like having Congress step in, which maybe people wouldn't necessarily like, the industry, and in this case, that's like Verizon, AT&T, T-Mo, who I don't know, US Cellular, whoever, but the back-end providers got together and basically figured out how they were going to solve the text message spam problem. And so the solution that they came up with is essentially to be able to have, it's kind of in two parts, but they work together. One is you start out with a database of all the businesses that will be texting, doing business texting of whatever kind. And that is like business name, EIN, stuff like that. And then second, you link that to a sort of listing of what phone numbers they're sending from. So to bring it back to Twilio, you have set up either on for your own business, if you're an ISV, you're setting it up on your client's behalf, et cetera. You will have phone numbers that you're texting into or out of through Twilio, although this applies to all of the other US providers as well. But you're texting into and out of these phone numbers. And so essentially what you will be doing as part of this process is registering your business details and then attaching that to what your specific purposes are from each phone number. This is a bit easier if you, for example, have separated, like if you do marketing texts versus, we'll say transactional, which is like account status information, a confirmation for a meeting, or kind of stuff like that, or notifications. Hey, you have an invoice due, things like that. So if those are separate, this is actually pretty easy. It's some paperwork and some time, but it's fairly easy and straightforward. However, if you've mixed those up, or you have one phone number, all your customers text you on and stuff like that, it might get a little hairy in there. However, one of the big things here is, and it's loud, and it's why we're doing a stream on it. We don't have a huge number of clients that use Twilio, but it's important for everybody. If you don't complete this, it's the A2P 10DLC That's their term for this whole thing. If you don't complete that registration all the way through by the end of the month, 31st of August this month, if you don't do that, Twilio will stop sending your text messages anywhere. And the reason we're doing a stream on this, and it's very loud, and I think a lot of our clients can probably get through the paperwork, honestly. I'm not too concerned about that, but we need to make sure everybody knows, because there's a huge downside. If you don't do your paperwork or don't complete it or whatever, they will continue to accept your text messages. They will just not be sent anywhere. You will get charged for them still. So if you're a high volume customer and you haven't completed your paperwork here, you're going to be paying bills to Twilio and getting nothing for it, essentially. That basically is because you're sending to Twilio, and then Twilio has to check on the back end to make sure your business and purposes and whatever have already been registered. If they are, cool, the text goes out to wherever it's going to go, no problem. But it's kind of a big and loud change for clients, so we want to make sure that they know.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing. Are there any
initial questions, maybe? Yeah. Sorry?
No questions. Nothing popping up right now that I can see.
Cool. I'm gonna go to, so I have a few links I'm gonna give people here. I'm gonna pack up my tabs here and send it to everybody, just so that you have them for reference. But the other thing I can do is I can walk you through, because we did this. We had to do it for RCC. We have basically a meeting reminder system for clients where kind of they can opt in to say, hey, if they have problems making their meetings or they just want a reminder or whatever, I think it texts them about an hour before the meeting, basically, and then 24 hours before, and I think on the 24-hour one they can cancel or reschedule or whatever. That description of that business process is a very straightforward transactional text message. And so we don't even have to deal with the marketing half of this, which is lovely for RCC, because it looked kind of formidable. But that said, a lot of our clients do both. And so there's basically three big steps you need to do. And this will be per business. One of the steps is per business, and then one of them it'll be per whatever. So I say per business because if you are somebody that's offering a text messaging service, we'll say reselling Twilio essentially, or just you're handling it on behalf of your clients, that's kind of the same thing. You'll need to do this for each of them. So there's two ways to do it, and I've seen it broken down different ways depending on how. It is just a question of how you have organized it. I'm not expressing a preference here. So if you run everything through your Twilio account, you'll register yourself, and that's I have this overview thing here, and there's different packages that you can do. The packages are just how many text messages that you're intending to be sending on a monthly basis, basically. And then there's brands, and then there's campaigns. And I'm referencing over here on the left side where you can see my mouse. So brands are the actual businesses themselves that are going to be sending, and then campaigns are, I was talking about, having transactional texts potentially separate from marketing ones, separating out different streams of things going out. Those are what the campaigns are. So and each of those campaigns, I think they can be one or the other or both, but it's the phone number. You're submitting examples of the text messages that you're sending out. The big thing to know is that stuff, which is the examples of the text messages and how are you using the service, they want to know. That stuff is actually manually reviewed by a human. And so that's why we're getting on the horn about doing this as soon as you can, because I think I'm just guessing here because it's how everybody works always. There's a certain chunk of people who are probably finding out about this now because they ignored the Twilio emails that have been coming out all spring, or didn't see them, whatever, it's fine. And they're going to be submitting all of this paperwork alongside everybody else at the same time. And so Twilio had a big when they first sent out the text message or the emails to tell everybody, that's when we did it. The spring, basically, the first mails came out. And it took 10 days for the human review to come back. And that was not when they were being like, everybody's rushing at the last minute to get this done. So just kind of fair warning on that. I wouldn't wait on it. That would be my best advice. Yeah, sooner the better. Absolutely. And so, all right, we're going to step through. I'm not actually going to set one of these up, but
real quick on this, they have until the 31st of August,
the 31st. Right? Yep. Okay. Yeah, last day of the month. So, and basically after the 31st, again, if you have not completed this, like all green check marks on all the different sections of all the stuff that you do as part of this, like I said, there's about 3 stages per kind of application or whatever that you're putting in. If you don't have green checks on all of them, I don't think it's on the 31st. I think it's after the 31st. They will continue to accept your text messages, which might be coming out of FileMaker, but they're going to bill you for them, but they're not going to relay them anywhere. They're going to get blocked on the backside. It's not clear to me how Twilio intends to actually handle that. I guess that might depend on how many people fail to register in time, probably, if I had to guess. But like if that's a big problem for Twilio versus the customer base, but yeah, I don't know, it'll be interesting.
Yeah.
All right, so let's step through basically. So I'm going to walk through basically what we've done. So the very first thing that you'll do, and this is your little like overview thing. So I logged into the Twilio console. I think I can even step back out of this because we only have one. Yeah, this is our. Yeah, see, right. Okay, cool. And then now I'm going to lose. Yeah, so there's like a register for A2P. And so if you have not done any of the registration, actually, so this would be like what your homepage might look like. If you've not done any of the A2P registration and it applies to you, they will, I think I've dismissed it, but they had there's a big colorful box basically that'll be like, yo, you have pending compliance action. And so you can go, I'm going to go over here. I'm not in fact sending bulk, but this will take you here. And so you can see we have a little green current package. We're on the standard one. There's about 3 of them. They have a very mildly different cost associated with them. That's another small change. You're going to get billed a few dollars a month for the registration itself. I think there's like a small fee with the application itself, and then a light for us. I think it's a couple bucks. I'm sure the tier up from us, again, we're on like the low tier. I think that one's a little more expensive, but it's not like a problem. If you're at that tier, you're gonna pay way more for the text. It's a rounding error on your bill anyway. So you'll pick your plan, you'll go through, and then you'll register a campaign. So the brand registration is like the business. This is Yeah, so here's our brand type. This is where your tiering comes in, basically, like the cost associated with that. I can click on this. I hope it doesn't show anything super important. I don't think so. Yeah, there's no like keys in here, so it's going to display our EIN on screen or something. But that's one of the things that you register. If you're a U.S. business, you probably are familiar with what your EIN is or know who might can have that information. You will need that at the start of this because you're going to register that business as well as the brand purposes, like what are you guys doing with Twilio and what kind of texts are you sending, that kind of stuff. You'll go through here. We have a use case. You register your use case. I think I can look at the detail on that. Yeah, nice. All right, so that's useful. So this one has gone through the manual review on Twilio's end. So we picked customer care because that's kind of the closest to meeting reminders. I wasn't in love with their different categories. But I don't think Twilio is the one that came up with the categories. I think that's the text message companies. And so you come in here, you fill this stuff out. Are you sending links? Are you going to be embedding phone numbers because people are going to call, stuff like that. You submit message samples as well as talking about a human's going to review these. So if they think your stuff looks spammy, you might get told no. Don't look spammy. That's yeah. That's it. And then you have to deal with consent management, which if you're not dealing with that, now would be a great time to start. And that is very specifically, if you start texting somebody and they're mad about it, they need to have a way to opt out, and to tell you they didn't want those text messages. And that they can like text back, like stop or quit or cancel. There's a few words that are like hard coded in US law, as to how that's supposed to work. Not kidding. It's in the law. But if they text any of those, Twilio and any of the other providers, like they know what that means. However, you business process wise, you as the business or the provider for the business, the ISV, independent system vendor, or independent software vendor, you will want to, if you've not already, build a small additional process that handles, because Twilio and the others will tell you when that happens. If somebody says, hey, I don't want to receive these anymore, you need to stop and take me off your list. You can handle that on your end and like mark them as opted out or whatever. And so just calling that out, if you haven't done that already, don't have that process in place, like Twilio will handle it for you. If you text back to a Twilio number and say stop, like Twilio's like, cool, thanks. But you want to handle the backside of that process on your end as well. And so anyway, so the consent box is also like things like that. So if there's a different set of keywords that would make more sense for your business as to what opt out would mean or how you would communicate that, you have to tell them that. And then examples of like your thank you message or whatever you might send them back. That's like cool, like, sorry, you're not using our thing anymore or whatever, or you don't want to hear these notifications, or again, I'm kind of talking generally, but because Twilio is used for so many different things.
Can I ask I don't know, maybe a dumb question, right? Like,
Sure.
I know that within RCC we've had like in the past some customers like kind of use this service for meetings and stuff. Hey, we scheduled this meeting, what have you. This, like, looking at this, they say campaign information, and I know within RCC we do campaigns, and that means one thing. So with Twilio, is campaigns just referring to any time that you want to send a message to somebody? So it doesn't matter if it's for a meeting or you're just texting back and forth, whatever, that is a campaign. But can you also actually send out newsletters, if you will,
like
this
an
way?
email blast or something like
Yeah.
or the text message equivalent of an email blast.
Correct.
Hey, we have a new thing. Hey, what would be a fun one? FileMaker 20 point. I don't know what the next one is, but it's out. Come get it.
Yeah. Text message blast.
Yeah. So and in RCC's context, so we probably wouldn't do it in the brands. I should take us over to the campaigns actually.
That's why one of the reasons, because we were in brands, but it has the campaign. So
because they're all it's a co-registration. They're all tied together. Yep. So if we were to do that at RCC, for example, I don't know what that marketing would be, but as a good example, let's try it.
Yeah.
So if we wanted to spin up one of those, we would add a new campaign, and it would not be a customer use or a customer care use case. We would mark it for marketing or something like that. Big bulk send text marketing, and we're going to tell everybody about the new. What's a proper example for RCC? We're going to tell everybody that we just released a new version of FMSP, right?
Yep.
People would like to hear about that. Actually, I think that's true because every time we send out an email campaign blast that's, hey, new FMSP, we get hundreds of downloads. So many hundreds, actually, more hundreds every year. And so if we were going to do that, we would register a new campaign. I'll click that here. So we already have our brand set up. We don't have a campaign use case, so we'd be picking one. So depending on how many customers, this is a good example of all the different options you have. And so if you have different kinds of businesses, let me.
Oh, sweepstakes.
There's 2 levels of scrolling in this thing. Let me see if I can get most of it on screen at the same time. So so you have like
public service announcement.
So you have what we're doing, which is the low volume mixed, I think. And they're recommending that based on our actual usages because we, I don't know, send 30 texts a month or something like that. It's a very low number. You could do a 2-factor, customer care, some kind of delivery notifications if you're sending stuff. Actually, like this list is much better than it was last time I looked. because we did it this spring, and I was like kind of feeling a little uncared for because there weren't that many options. But right, so you can see all the different options, your higher education, just mixed stuff, customer care packages, a little bit of marketing in there somewhere, stuff like that. And then there's also like these, which are like kind of official marketing or official communications type stuff. These get, as I say, a little additional level of vetting. And that's
Yeah.
because there's for some of these, and that's this bottom list, there's an additional step that happens on the back end that's not just Twilio reviewing it, like
Okay.
the cell company basically. There's I should have brought the name today. There's like an org thing that they built between that's not like I'm talking about Verizon and T-Mo and AT&T and whatever I think US Cellular is the fourth largest in the US. They made an org that like runs this thing so that because Verizon, AT&T, aren't always friendly per se.
Yeah.
So they spun up a little thing that works between them that does that. But anyway, so that business or that organization does reviews as well. And so you can see certain specific ones where that additional level of review takes place. And so, for example, if we were going to do, what would we be marketing? Promotional content such as sales and limited time offers, maybe?
Yeah.
I like that. We'll do that. Okay, cool. So we have our company, and I'm not dropping this down because we only have one. But again, like I said, if you needed to register multiple businesses for this, that is an action. The brand registration, and that's the company. You have to do that for each. So if you have multiple, if you're a company that is like providing a Twilio thing, on behalf of your clients, basically, that's an ISV in this terminology. You're going to have to register each of those if they're already broken out that way. If you just run everything through your one text message number or a set of text message numbers or something like that, it's a little more complicated. You'll register as yourself with a broader purpose, and then you'll just continue to handle all the different like streams of things and phone numbers and all that stuff. It's mostly a compliance conversation, much less so like you have to change stuff in FileMaker, you're going to have to adjust keys, like no. It's just so that they can track who's sending to who, and that they know, and I'm sure that at some point, I don't know if they're doing it at the start, but at some point they'll be looking at the text messages to see if they make sense for what you told them. I don't know if or when that happens, but I assume at some point there will be an audit that comes through. So you can either create a new messaging service, or you can do an existing one. If I did an existing one, that would be like we have a phone number, right? And so it's telling me no because this is already attached to something.
Yeah.
CatBot is our name for the text message reminder because it comes out of a database at RCC called CatBarf, and so we made the bot a cat. But if you were going to make a new one, you'd do create new messaging service. And then you've seen these boxes on that one previous screen where you have to write out what is the description. We're going to be emailing people, or we're going to be texting people about FMSP, new releases, maybe some, I guess we said limited time
like
offers.
Deal. Yeah.
So maybe we can have like a 48-hour sale on bundles, or I don't know, something like that.
Something to go on.
And you could text people like that. And so you're going to fill all these stuff out. You want to make sure if you're going to be sending people links, if you're going to be sending people phone numbers, you mark those appropriately so that the recipient or the relayer on the backside, this is behind Twilio, knows what to expect and doesn't get freaked out about it. Because if they, totally technical term, get freaked out about it, i.e. you've misrepresented what you're sending, they may block your stuff. And then you have no texting, which is also not great. So you're going to do this. You'll have some different keywords. And this is, again, like I was talking about, so there's like a stop and a help and a stop all. There's a short list. I think it's 4 or 5 keywords that are like on everybody's list and are automatically handled by these text messaging companies. But like I said, if your particular integration, if your particular application service that you're offering has something that's like, don't tell me about FMSP anymore as a keyword or whatever, then you can add additional keywords that they know are essentially a stop all command or an opt-in, right? Text FMSP to whatever to get texts. That's what the opt-in box is for. So.
I'm like, yeah, you don't really have to create it if you don't want to, but
Yeah,
yeah, we
well,
don't
I
we don't
don't.
need
We're
to,
gonna
but
incur dollars if we do that.
yes, yeah, that's
Which
we're not doing this
maybe
right now, but
I
it's
was gonna
good to
say
know.
maybe
Yeah,
we can consider it at a future time.
yeah.
I don't know how many people want to be texted about FMSP, but I guess we'll find out after the stream if we get a
I,
bunch of emails saying we want to hear about it.
those of you that are with us, place your votes.
Yes, send it to support@rcconsulting.com. Let us know. Do you want to be texted about FMSP? Um, and so you're gonna fill this stuff out. I'm gonna cancel out of that because we already have one. So that'd be your new campaign. It's got a business attached. It gets some IDs. You're gonna attach it to a phone number. Fill out your different purposes and stuff like that. Um,
In to kind of go back a little bit, because you were talking about there being, thank you, Ken, about there being like kind of three steps of things that you need to do. So the first one is creating the brands, and then campaigns is the next
yeah,
one that we kind of just went over. And then
yeah.
after that, you would have the
And this
onboarding.
is yeah, and this is this onboarding. This is what when I said you want all the little green things or the little checks to be green. This is what I'm talking about. So
Got it.
I know it's backwards in the list because they give you the overview and then the onboarding is at the end. If you've
Yeah.
never done any of the onboarding at all, you're probably gonna look at the overview thing and then click straight onto the onboarding because that's where you get this stuff. So if you need to fill out business name information, EINs, mailing address, emails, contacts, right, all that stuff,
Mm.
that's here. That's on this page. We're not on it because we're like down in the process, basically. That's why it's not showing it to us. But if you come on here, that's what it'll be asking you for. The second one is you're going to register the brand, and that doesn't have to be your company per se, but they're linked to each other. So a company can have multiple brands, a brand can have multiple campaigns, right?
Yep, makes sense.
So yeah, and it all goes in the database. Um, and so once you register your brand, and in our case, we're just all RCC for everything because again, it's for like coaching and development customers and stuff. So it's like literally the software services that we sell,
Yeah.
or software engineering services that we sell. It's not FMSP. It's not any of the other stuff. Ours is specific to that. Yours might be different. And so once you've registered that brand, I believe that is where you attach the phone numbers, basically to the which purposes and stuff. It doesn't change anything about the phone numbers for your code or stuff like that, but those get registered basically right on the back end after a human review. Once that's done, you'll get a thumbs up. Again, there's a human review process here. When we did it, it took 10 days. I don't know if it will be better or worse now. I'm suspecting, based on people who haven't done this previously and are learning about it fresh, there might be a crush of submissions this month,
Yeah.
as the tenor of how important it is to do this before the end of the month gets very loud. So,
Yeah. Over the next couple of weeks, they're just going to get slammed and be backed up, and yeah, it's
yep,
going to take much
yep,
longer.
yep. And I've had a couple customers ask. I don't know if one of them's on the stream actually. We'll see, but or I'll probably hear in my email after anyway. But like I've had one customer ask because they're nervous about the ability of the business to be able to continue to text if review takes too long, and like those are very real concerns. That's also why I'm telling everybody, do not wait, do it now, because if Twilio needs to process a big backlog, they will need time to do that. And the faster that you can get this stuff in and to them, and it's put on their plate and not on yours, the more likely you are to not have a problem there. If you wait until the last minute, yeah, I mean, you're probably going to have an issue. So, basically, and again, I don't. There might be something somewhere that lists. So again, because we're not doing a fresh submission here, I don't know. They may have like approximate ETA for processing or something like that somewhere. They didn't this spring when I had it, but they also didn't have half of those different text message purposes on that list, which was great because like they had one bucket for education and not even like the official bucket for education that was I'm a school and we're going to text parents about their kids' problems or whatever. So
Yeah. I want to ask another dumb question because
Sure.
I've been hearing you and I understand the words that you're saying, but then it just kind of dawned on me. So when we as RCC register, say we have, four clients of ours that want to be able to use the service with us, we have to register each of them individually on our end.
So if we were the one that's providing the service,
Hmm.
I don't mean the software engineering, not FileMaker integration. This is
No, no, no.
like you're using our keys
Mhm.
or something like that. Um, yes, we would be red. So the way that we would do it, and I think it's cleanest and clearest for all the paperwork involved,
Mhm.
we would make separate registrations for each of those clients.
Okay.
Um,
That makes sense, and that's kind of what I was assuming, but wanted to double check. And then my
yeah.
follow-up to that is then does the client also have to do anything on their end?
Code wise, no, but like for example, if we don't have their EIN or
Mhm.
there's some information that has to be gathered to
Mhm.
set this process up. If we don't have that on file and the client, they're like, hey, like I gotta go find it. Cool,
Mhm.
it's normal client comms.
Yeah.
Then they have to go fetch that information and get it to us so we can make the registration on their behalf. Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
and those would be brands.
Yeah.
Um, those would be brands within this verbiage here. So
Yes. Okay.
with campaigns attached. And each campaign would be those purposes. So again, if you like have one phone number that handles um, customer service, right? You have a
Mhm.
call line, maybe people can text it, that would be cool. Uh, I'm having problems with FileMaker. Um,
Yeah.
perfect. Um, and so then you would register that under that client with that brand. You'd register that as a campaign, and then if you had like a separate phone number that is blast only marketing messages, fresh FMSP out, download today, um, then and if you separated those, it's cleaner. It doesn't matter. I'm not telling you which way to do it. That's kind of like a client decision and that kind of stuff. It is slightly more expensive actually because you'll get a fee on each of those. But we're talking $10 a month, so
Yeah.
uh, you know, I think at some level of scale, you end up paying more for the text messages than the little fee that goes with it. So, I think the other thing is, um, I honestly, I'm excited about this. It's like annoying. It's compliance stuff. It's mostly paperwork here. Uh,
Mhm.
but after August, i.e., starting in September, we should see a grand decrease in spam texts happening in the US.
Mhm.
And so people that are still spamming, sending
Mhm.
marketing messages that you don't want, those will be expected to be responded to appropriately. And so it will like not on again, this is like probably it's a personal opinion to be perfectly honest, but I think we're just kind of dodging congressional action here because it got to a certain fever pitch with how bad the texts and spam calls and all the other stuff were. And I there were some hearings a couple of years ago, or was it last year maybe, that happened with Congress. And you bring the CEOs of these companies up and yell at them, and in some ways that's like cathartic, but also like if you don't act in that situation as the businesses, like eventually Congress does get mad and do something. So because they don't like the spam calls and text messages either.
Yeah.
It's a broad problem in this country. So
Another question for you. Sorry. Um, if this is just an example because I don't know how this would function or work. But say we have a school who is a client of ours, right?
mhm,
So we
mhm,
register them as a brand, but
yep.
then the school uses another, here, let me look at it. Is it Aries or there's one other type of app, Parent Square? And they want to use one of those apps to like broadcast everything to everyone, but through Twilio, would that be possible? I don't even
Mm,
know if
I
that's the
s-
right way to ask that question.
I suspect so. I'm not familiar with the app, but if I had to guess, it is that usually Parent Square was a name or something
Hmm.
like that. If I had to guess, so unless that that website or software application has a like set of boxes for Twilio keys or something that you would put in as the school. In
Hmm.
that case, yeah, like you as the school would do your full registration inside of Twilio. You'd pull your little various keys out, which you guys are familiar with if you've built a Twilio integration before. And that's just your sending details basically. So you'd pull those out of your account. You'd do the registration, pull those out of your account. You'd put those into this application. For the most part, that wouldn't change actually, because again, this is like compliance. It's
Yeah.
paperwork. It mostly does not change how that integrates with Twilio or anything else. There's nothing, no real change on that end.
Okay.
However, that said, if this texting sort of
Hmm.
information service is something that's offered by that application themselves, and you don't hear who their provider is, we don't know. Maybe it's Twilio, maybe it's somebody else. They are doing that registration for you. Either because they are doing one of two things. Either they have individual, like, for example, we would have done this at one of the previous businesses I worked at. Or actually, we did it. I built it, and then the business fell over.
Hmm.
But for example, that was a marketing thing for real estate. And one of the things is like in real estate, it's everything's local because you're buying a house, right? Like you're going to be in the
Yes.
community. You want to have phone numbers that are local area code to where the thing is if you're going to be marketing for things like real estate.
Yeah.
You're calling the listing agents. They all, we're 805 here in where we're physically located here. And so your listing agents are all going to be 805 phone numbers. If you're sending text messages out for marketing, for updates, for information, for whatever, and it's not an 805 number, I don't know if they're going to look at it. That's kind of an industry specific thing, but it's a good conversation. And so, as an example, that previous business was setting up text messaging with lots and lots of local phone numbers, basically. And so we would register each of those phone numbers. And I think you actually can attach those like many phone numbers to a campaign, because in our case it would have been one business, but you can
Yeah.
split it both ways. So with this, to kind of drag it back to the parent
Hmm.
notification system, there's two ways that you could do that. One is, like I just said, they are a service provider. They have this app. It's for parent communication. They could register separate different phone numbers for like in a local area code for each school or school district, right? And then those would get attached, but that is completely transparent to you. All of that paperwork would also be on their end.
Okay.
The other is if they are doing it truly on behalf of the school,
Hmm.
um, then each of those becomes an individual registration that someone's doing per
Yeah.
probably district. If I had to guess, you probably wouldn't do it
Yeah.
per school, but yeah. So and that'll split out differently. Again,
Yeah.
it's most of this is like how you did it previously and how kind of existing practice with this texting system, or this texting integration, how that works with the new paperwork, basically.
Yeah.
And again, it doesn't change anything about your keys or your account details or any of that kind of stuff. So your phone numbers are going to remain. They won't change. You'll just attach them to campaigns and stuff like that. This is totally like a paperwork back-end conversation. So, and
Cool.
kind of from that perspective, it's how you're choosing to become compliant, basically. And again, because if you don't, they will keep taking your money and stop delivering services. So you should avoid that.
Cool. Well, I don't know if anyone has any questions about any of this, but as of right now, we do not have any questions like waiting or anything like that. They're just all me questions. Um, so if you have anything else to share or if anyone has anything, now is a good time to chime in.
Mhm. Slightly related question and probably for the
Sure,
audience
shoot.
versus
Go
Jacob.
ahead,
Yeah,
Ken.
ask your question, Ken. We have 20 minutes. We can do a little
Yeah.
Q&A. I actually thought this was going to be a Q&A stream and was like, oh wait, Twilio. We're doing Twilio. Okay, cool, perfect. Uh, let's see. Oh, Cognito
Okay, so
forms.
I was going to
Sorry,
correct
you
that
should ask the
anyway.
question.
Has anyone done any integration of FMP and Cognito forms? We'll see what kind of response we get. I
Yeah.
personally have not.
I haven't either, although I have not done really customer. Hold on, how do I that? And then I'll look up what Cognito Forms is. Oh, it's an online form builder. I see.
So
Is this?
I've definitely used online like form builders to for just different surveys like when I do customer surveys that can be integrated with like into FileMaker, but I mean it's not Cognito
Mhm.
or Gravity. So
Yeah.
I cannot be of any help there.
The other one is I haven't, and I am bad as a senior here at RCC because I should go play with it, but um, I was just thinking you. I don't know if that is one of the supported form providers for Claris Connect, because that is one of their. I want to say it was Jot Forms was one of them that they had, but
Hmm.
there was a short list of basically this stuff, online form builders, that you could integrate that way. Um, there is forthcoming some excellent improvements there. I'm going to give no details because I don't think I'm allowed to, but just look for that soon. Yeah. Um,
I don't know if,
basically, th
oh,
things around you can play with it in the free Connect. If you go sign up for Claris Connect free, if you have not done so already, there is a free tier now. I think you get a few hundred requests a month or something like that, but it's otherwise uncapped. There's like an amount of data you're allowed to save up there, and then I think a number of requests per month or something like that. And it's plenty for like you're a developer testing some stuff for your clients or whatever sort of thing. Um,
and I
pretty
don't
cool.
know if it would be worth doing another live stream on forms and how to integrate them with FMP. I know
Pretty fun.
Calvin did one quite some time back. Calvin is one of our senior engineers who he definitely does work with web forms and stuff like that. I don't know how many, J-Ray maybe, I don't know. But I've worked with Calvin on some. That's why I know he does them. We could maybe do a topic on
Yeah,
that if we wanted.
I that's probably a good one to schedule actually. The thing I'm thinking of is because we have free Connect now,
Hmm.
and Calvin actually specifically has done somewhat extensive work with Connect
He,
before it was free, actually. He
yeah.
had several different clients that were quite interested in using it. We've talked about various constraints and complaints people might have with Connect and that sort of stuff. Fine, fine. But there were some, even with the previous version, there were some very interesting use cases for a few of our clients. And Calvin was one of the ones that took lead on, one of the seniors that took lead on
Hmm.
those. Um, let's see, webhooks and JSON. Awesome. Cool. That would be, yeah,
Okay.
that would be a good stream. I as ever, I have no time, but one of the ones I want to do someday maybe is because I have refurbed up and then eventually actually completed. We have webhook notifications from Mandrill, which I don't think we ever actually did any kind of a stream on.
Mm-mm.
Um, we like automatically process. So like if you report us as spam to Mandrill or something like that, like those are automatically processed by FileMaker on our end. We, unmark records and stuff like that. That's why I'm always telling people, yeah, go sign up for our stuff. Why? Because I can guarantee it works correctly. I wrote all the code. So,
Um, real quick, Jacob, Bill Black on YouTube, he said, "Hey, I've gotten past step 1 and 2, but was rejected on the third step." And I'm assuming that he is referring to the Twilio 1, 2, 3 steps.
yeah,
I don't know if you
probably.
might have any feedback on that.
I would ask if they gave a reason why they rejected, basically. Um, and check your purposes. Check your purposes.
When you say purposes, sorry, just for my own perspective, what do you mean by purposes?
Make sure that the examples that you gave for text messages and things like that are covered under the like purpose for that campaign that you selected, basically. Um,
Got it.
like I said, I believe an actual human reviews this stuff,
Yeah.
and I don't. That actually probably means the review process can be faulty in certain ways, to be honest. But mostly it's about the delay, assuming you have your kind of eyes I's dotted and T's crossed otherwise. That's like for most of our clients, it's going to be the delay that's the potential problem, or the waiting to hear back, right? That nervousness. Are we going to get approved? Are we going to get rejected, etc. Yeah, but if you got told no, I would definitely check if they gave a reason. I don't know where that is because we didn't get rejected, but that should be available to you somewhere, either via email or on your Twilio console. So nice. Oregon.
Yeah, I think either way, whether
set up
we specifically, Jacob, you can do it. You can do all of the webhooks and everything for connecting forms and what have you. Yeah, I think either way, whether we specifically do something for Cognito, if we have somebody familiar with that, or just a general overview of webhooks in FileMaker, either way, that would be a good
I think the
live stream to
webhook
come back and
conversation.
do.
Yeah, I think the webhook conversation would be good. There's a couple different ways to do it. I actually haven't done like Oregon Dean in Discord here is talking about, using the OData endpoint for some of this stuff, which if the webhook provider supports it is excellent, because you don't have to write you have to write new FileMaker code. Yep. But you don't have to write, PHP or any of that stuff. I've done the PHP. I call them shuttles because I've built so many of them for clients. It's why I tell it to people that way, because it's my preferred way to handle this stuff, which is put the logic in FileMaker where it belongs. Don't make your weird external code, right? Which is like this little webhook endpoint. Don't make it do anything smart. When we get to the live stream, I'll cover that stuff, but there's an approach for that, and it's because it's a lot easier for you to bring data into FileMaker as a fresh record for post-processing. Like you can always update that logic later if something changes or your business process is adjusted or whatever. And depending on the business and how things are set up, it can be somewhat more complicated to very complicated to adjust business process that's stored inside of something like a PHP script or something else. Doesn't apply to all businesses. Some of them, it doesn't matter either way. You're like, but I have found that to be, I love the picture of that guinea pig. That is so funny.
Yeah, okay. I don't use Discord a lot, and sometimes I click buttons and then don't realize what I click. But I'm not going to go into detail on that. Yes, Ken, we can use you as a real world guinea pig when the time comes for that. Not a problem at all.
I'm gonna put this
Oregon
on my
Dean can
screen
sit
so
in on
everyone
that
can
too.
see the here.
In terms of Bill Black, he said campaign, and he said that it was 4 to 5 days last week. I'm assuming 4 to 5 days before
For
feedback
the
or
review.
return.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, so they didn't like your campaign. Interesting. So yeah, that would be my suspicion, is something funky with how it's connected, either how it's connected to the brand or what the purpose is. Sorry, I call it the purpose because that's what it is, but campaign use case is the term here, versus like the information that you gave in these sub boxes about how consent's handled, or like the example text messages that you give for what kind of stuff you're sending out. It is possible that they may just tell you no because they're not accepting that type of text anymore. I don't know what kind of business you do, so I can't say anything about that really, but I could foresee that being an option or a problem, basically. So maybe that means they think you're a spammer. I'm not accusing you of that, but just if that's what the human reviewer, yeah, correct. If that's what the human reviewer looked at that and went, that's spam. I don't know. There's lots of like legitimate business communication that honestly looks a little spammy anyway. So
Yeah, that's kind of up to each person reviewing and what they think looks like spam or doesn't, and they have to determine.
Yep. Right. Okay, cool. Yeah, Oregon Dean is confirming essentially that he uses the approach I just said, which is trying to avoid putting all the logic inside of the PHP or whatever, and basically it just takes all the data incoming and like shoves it into FileMaker, and then FileMaker does stuff. And there's several different ways to architect and build that, but we don't need to go over it now. But but just as an approach, keeping the logic inside of FileMaker where it's super easy to update. And there's a bug. Like, well, Haley knows. Our Mandrill integration was not bug free when I wrote it. It got fixed up. So
no, you don't say.
And it's
Bugs?
really, yeah, no. I write perfect code. It comes out flawless.
First time around.
Without errors, first time, every time. Definitely, 100%. No, people put up with my code because it gets fixed. So we have lots of logging. We go look at it. The code's screaming. It's got a problem. Some corner case I didn't even think of, didn't know about. Whatever. That's software. But that's what's awesome about FileMaker is because we can go in and fix that with a minimum of fuss. So. Yeah, and then you run the code. Correct. Yeah. We thought the code was great, and then it operates, and you have many questions.
Yeah. I love that. Okay. I mean, we've got 7 minutes. So any last minute comments, questions, requests? Taking them now or forever hold your peace.
Or email support.
Or, yeah. No. Only allowed during
Actually, don't email support. It's Friday.
Just kidding.
I want to go home.
Yes, Friday on the weekend. We all have other things to do. I agree. Tax-free is awesome. It's tax-free in a lot of places.
Nice.
Cool. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today. I appreciate you all being here. And until next time, we will see you all on Monday. Have a good weekend. And yeah, I think that'll do it.
Got a report of an individual up here who may be a FileMaker license. Well, it's potentially expired. Look at the back of that car right there. Looks like the FileMaker license has expired. Sir, I need you to step out of the vehicle. Sir, step out of the vehicle. Sir!